Hi everyone, number one Marmaduke fan here. So I've been hearing a lot about My Hero Academia. I watched Jellopocalypse's video making fun of it because I dig his cartoon style and his sense of humor. I'm looking at channels like that for inspiration for what I can do with my channel. And I watched Mother's Basement's video comparing this to Naruto. And he made kind of an interesting point that Naruto is a little bit more left-wing and My Hero Academia is a little bit more right wing, but it's not like their propaganda. Their messaging is subtle, so that actually there's aspects of both worldviews in Naruto and My Hero Academia, even if you could say this is a little bit more of a Ayn Randian, libertarian, Americanized view of heroism and characters. So I was interested in it. Months ago, people were always talking about Boku no Hero Academia in Zach's comment section, and I think he even mentioned in a live stream that he was interested in it. But I was even pushing him to talk about this because I was just so interested in what this was, and I wanted to hear Zach's perspective. But he hasn't gotten around to it, so I'm doing this. Holy cow, I am so happy I read this. The only bad thing I have to say about it is that for some reason I didn't read this 3 years ago when it first came out. I wish I was in Japan when this first came out and got the original Shonen Jumps. Highest recommendation. I'm only scared that I will overhype it, right? This is like Star Wars. This is the Star Wars problem where if you're an adult and you haven't seen Star Wars, everybody hypes up Star Wars to you, and then you see Star Wars and you say, yeah, that was pretty good. And your whole life people have been telling you that Star Wars is the most magical Christmas imagination special sauce to ever exist. Star Wars is excellent, but people can get overhyped by things. So I came in hearing some hype with high expectations, but with kind of like that little bit of skepticism that, yeah, this has been hyped. I don't want all the hype to spoil it, but this lived up to the hype for me. I am so happy, and I would recommend this to different types of people. So type of person number one, fans of Western superhero comics who have just never picked up a manga before, or you've picked up a manga and you just haven't liked it. I think you will like this, even though it's manga and you don't like manga, because Kohei Horikoshi is facilitating what's great about the American superhero story and the Jack Kirby style and Jack Kirby's imagination and worldview. It's like he's taken that worldview of the American dream superhero and facilitated that into his own work. If you are a fan of manga in general, I think I highly recommend this to you, because this is within the tradition of kind of Shonen Jump manga, but it is so fresh. I said in my review of what was it, Black Clover, that I was really burned by Fairy Tail. I liked Fairy Tail at first, and then I just got more and more sick of it. Black Clover was a little annoying in how directly it was copying some of the tropes of manga Shonen Jump characters. But what I said about Black Clover was that even though it was a little derivative, I still found it charming, and it was playing with the tropes a little bit. This takes those tropes and just tells a story. So elements are there. The main character is a young boy who wants to be the best superhero, and he doesn't have any power, right? So he's behind the eight ball. He wants to be the best, and you might just be thinking, oh, just like Naruto, just like Monkey D. Luffy, but he's his own character. This is a story. This tells a story, and this is kicking the butt of so many Marvel comics I've been reading. Spider-Gwen, Scarlet Spider, Moon Girl, where Moon Girl's okay, but generally the tone is things just go on, and you're waiting for things to happen. Scarlet Spider's going to save this girl's life, and 10 issues later, okay, he's going to save this girl's life sometime. When's that going to happen? The reason I think so many people and young people are going to manga is when you read this, in the time it takes Gwenpool to put on, or Spider-Gwen to put on their slippers, this kid's already beaten up 20 guys, gone out to have tea and cool character development, and then gone back out and beaten up 20 more guys. So much more bang for your buck, story-wise and action-wise in this. Oh, I'm so happy. All right, so I would recommend it to Western superhero fans. I'd recommend it to manga fans. I'd recommend it to just cartoonists, because this is a style that it's similar to manga styles I've seen, but I haven't seen anything quite like it. And Kohei Kohei does different things based on the tone or based on the scene, where he might radically change how he draws All Might from kind of like a Jack Kirby heavy line style to a really abstract cartoony style, and he's using it all to push an idea, to represent an idea visually that maybe you could convey realistically, but by using a really cartoony visual language, he's communicating things, he's communicating ideas with how he draws. So lived up to the hype. So let's do a little bit of storybook time with Uncle Marmaduke fan. So I liked his little intro talking about how he likes to make a story that he enjoys for himself first, and he hopes that others enjoy it too. And this was his third manga, so this is an experienced manga artist telling us this story. And he has really interesting notes on how he rethought some of the characters and had to pitch some of it. So this is a world where 80% of people have some kind of superpower, and some of the superpowers are very mundane. Like his mom, his nickname is Deku. That's the nickname the bully gives him. But the main character's name is, I have so much trouble with these names, Izuku Midoriya. Izuku. Okay. So Izuku is nicknamed Deku by the bully. So Izuku, his mom has like the power that she can summon little household objects, right? So she's not a superhero. Most people have some kind of superpower, but they don't run out and be a superhero. And there is an economic advantage to being a popular superhero, like Mount Lady over here, who looks like she was made to bait weird people on DeviantArt into reading this book. Like, she sells hair products, right? You make a career out of being a hero, which makes sense to me because I don't know about you, but even if I had a superpower, I don't know when I would find an extra 4 to 8 hours a day to run around saving people. I might, just because it would sort of be your civic duty at that point if you had superpowers. But man, where did these heroes find the time to spend all this time doing volunteer service work? So there's this interesting theme that a lot of heroes want to be heroes for fame and glory and for extreme wealth. If you're a very popular hero, you can become very wealthy. But then All Might instills in Izuku. All Might instills in Izuku the idea of not just civic responsibility, but the idea of true heroism. That's what I was going to say. This is one of the best origin stories I've seen for a superhero since Peter Parker's The Amazing Spider-Man, where most origin stories are just that. Here's how they came to be. And the origin story itself isn't actually a very important part of their mythos. It's the least important part of the story is the beginning, and you want to get past it as soon as possible and get to the heart of the story. Since I've read so much hype about it, I have high expectations for the manga which follow this, like all the later volumes. But this all by itself, if number one was all there was, this would be one of the best origin stories for a superhero I've ever read, because the author is so well pacing the themes in the book. You almost get the heart of it, the heart of the ideas about heroism and sacrifice in the early pages, and then everything builds from there. So Izuku wants to be a great hero like All Might. He's been inspired since childhood, but he has no quirk. He has no superpower. They even do a cute thing where they explain it by the joint in your little toe is not a necessary part in our evolution anymore. So natural selection, people who have lost that extra joint are the next stage in human evolution. He has the extra joint, which is one reason why he does not have, that's how they know he doesn't have any power or will never manifest a superpower. One thing I liked was that they established him as having good grades and working really hard as a character trait before any superheroic stuff happens to him, right? So, like, so many Shonen Jump characters, they're the idiot, class clown, dummy McDum-Dum, and even if it's just a simple thing like saying he gets good grades, that's a way of suggesting that his personality type, his being a person who is determined to overcome his physical limitations through effort. You can't be the smartest person in the room, but you can be the hardest working person in the room. At my boy Ben Shapiro. That's one of the big themes that this manga is getting at, and I think about this topic a lot because it's so relevant to art. You might not ever be the most talented artist in the room, but you can be the most hardworking artist in the room in terms of cultivating good habits for yourself, so that being a good habit artist is something that you do by habit. You don't have to force yourself to feel like making art. You make good art naturally because you are it's like brushing your teeth. You have just learned to do it. So All Might shows up and saves Izuku. Am I saying it right? Gosh. Izuku. Yeah, okay, I was saying it right. Izuku. So All Might shows up and saves Izuku, and he's, does like Texas Punch. He's so mom's apple pie and cheeseburger, pizza, and 60-ounce soda that's banned in New York. All American, love this dude. And Izuku shows us more of his character. He holds on to All Might even though All Might is trying to run off, because Izuku wants to ask him a question. He's being persistent, and there's silly exaggeration. That's where I think this is very unique, is that a lot of manga artists will use the same types of silly expressions. They're almost like emoticons or things you type on a keyboard, and Izuku is just, that's the main character. Kohei is just pushing things a little bit more. So generally characters have just a very simple face, but then he'll do things, like I mentioned before, All Might will be a bit more Jack Kirby-ish. Their fear will be, I loved when All Might punched the bad guy and the sonic boom, blew Izuku's lips like being in a wind tunnel. So Izuku grabs onto All Might and they land on the roof, and Izuku asks him if he can be a hero without any superpower. And All Might tries to be kind and kind of give him the advice that, well, you could be a police officer, you could do good and noble work, but this is a taxing job, and I think you need to be realistic. So it's actually good advice, and this crushes him a little bit. He also discovers that All Might isn't always big and heroic looking. Most of the time he's actually weak, and there's been a toll on his body from his heroics. He's lost organs, he can barely breathe, he's coughing up blood. His heroic activity has had a permanent negative consequence on All Might's life. So the theme of heroism being introduced quickly. We don't have to wait 20 issues to find this out. We're finding this out in the first little story. If it got canceled after the first issue, this would still be a great little superhero story all by itself, even if it never got to reach the full potential. And that's why it'll reach the full potential, is people see this and they see so much potential and they want more and more and more of it. Every chapter he leaves you wanting more. He later talks about, in his design for All Might, when All Might was weak and haggard looking, he wanted all of All Might's intensity to be contained in his eyes, and he kind of joked that he's not a good enough artist to convey that. But this is phenomenal. He's reduced All Might into a simple shape. Every little detail conveys the idea. His hair has become haggard. His eyes are gaunt. His chin is a dinky little point, and his teeth are kind of grimacing and abstractly filling his whole mouth, and his arms are skinny. And then All Might I already made this point. The drawing of All Might in hero mode and in weak normal mode reinforces the idea that when he's being All Might, he's like a guy sucking in his gut at the pool to try to hide how fat and pathetic he looks. So he can only maintain his super form for a little bit. So after All Might kind of tells Izuku that he probably won't get to be a hero, all these other heroes are at the scene where this weird mud creature has swallowed Izuku's bully. And Izuku's bully has this great power where he can create explosions, and he's got high ambitions to be the next great hero. Izuku hears the commotion, and he shows up, and all the heroes are not intervening because all of them are either weak to this creature or they don't feel like their power equips them to handle this creature. So they're just telling the bully to hold on. A hero with the right quirk will come to save you. They're not being men of action, really. And then he sees the bully crying. And even though he's a timid guy, he just starts running, and everyone's just looking at him like he's nuts. His feet start moving, he doesn't really know what he's doing. So this theme of being a hero, of acting when it is necessary, is conveyed in the first chapter and then revisited in later chapters, so that you don't just have this one theme and then forget about it. You don't just have, with great power comes great responsibility in the first Spider-Man comic, and then they forget that happened. They built on that theme over time and gave Spider-Man gravitas, especially through the Steve Ditko, Stan Lee run, the John Romita run. That character for so many decades had that gravitas, and Izuku has gravitas to him. because he represents a real-world problem that you can identify with, and that's all you need to identify with him as the superheroic crazy stuff starts happening. He remembers All Might's words, and even though he can barely contain his fear, he tries to force a smile to set his bully at ease while saving him. You looked like you needed saving, even though it was stupid for me to do this. And I forgot this, but All Might actually says he smiles to contain his fear, as a way of coping with the fear of his life being endangered. And then because Izuku jumped in without any knowing what the heck he was going to do to help, All Might then is spurred to action by seeing what Izuku does and leaps in. And then after saving the day, All Might says, "Okay, I told you you have to be realistic. I want to amend what I said. You can be a hero." And this is connected thematically with something earlier where Izuku's mom didn't say, "You can be a hero." She just took pity on him and said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, Izuku." He didn't want to be a victim. He wanted someone to tell him that he can do it if he tries. Wow! And then I love the notes. I love the pencil sketches and seeing how lines are being layered and built up. The quick little indication of sketching. This is an excellent artist, and so much love being expressed for the Western market. There's a fake barcode with like 222222 on it for chapter 2. Like I said, if you are a Western superhero comics person who has never loved manga, or even if you've hated manga, I think you should give this a shot. Because this is facilitating things you love into its own story. It's a good story. It's not wasting my time. It's using things that you would expect of manga, like young boy hero who is very determined, but is doing different things with those tropes, so it's not the exact same story, but just with a different weird fantasy element to it. The drawing style is interesting and unique, so that even if you're not the biggest superhero person, the drawing style itself recommends it, I think, because of how fascinating he's using exaggeration of the human form to empathize things. So I'm not going to do a thorough review or storybook time. I kind of gave you just the sneak peek of what the first thing is. Highest recommendation, go get this. I am going to get the digital comics and probably do think pieces on this, because this knocks out I'm as happy with this as I was with Duck Avenger. So Italian comics about Donald Duck being a superhero are better than most of what I've read of Marvel comics and DC comics. There are still, I'm not saying there's not good Marvel and DC comics. There's still really good Marvel and DC comics, but in general, Donald Duck as the Duck Avenger knocked most of that out of knocked my socks off and knocked most of that out of the water. This knocked my socks off, knocked me out of the water. Highest recommendation. The only thing you will be unhappy about when you read this is that you did not read it sooner. I'm #1 Marmaduke fan. I love you guys. Like, comment, and subscribe. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Catch you later.